She had come from a world of privilege, a life cushioned by wealth and expectation, but that world had crumbled around her, and she had fallen. For 3 long years, I remained by her side, a constant through every hardship and every small victory. I supported her, believed in her, and eventually my long-held dream of marrying her became a reality. On the evening of our 3rd wedding anniversary, her new song, a ballad she called Devotion, was taking the world by storm. A global sensation that signaled the fallen princess was finally reclaiming her throne. It was at the awards ceremony, broadcast live to the entire nation, that she held her gleaming trophy high, her face radiant under the stage lights. "This song," she announced, her voice filled with emotion, "is for the man who's been with me for 20 years. He is the love of my life." That was the moment I knew it was over. And later that night, I signed the divorce papers, the inspiration for devotion, she had called him, the love of her life. On the stage, Chloe was a vision in a flowing designer gown, her every move graceful and confident. The audience was electric with excitement, and across the country everyone was speculating, wondering about the identity of this mysterious man who had captured her heart for 2 decades. Only I wasn't wondering. I sat alone in our living room, the television screen casting a cold blue light on my face, my gaze fixed on the small cake and the 3 unlit candles sitting on the coffee table before me. She lifted the trophy again, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "He has been by my side for 20 years, and all I want is to give him the best of everything in the world." With a deep breath, I leaned forward and blew out the candles meant to celebrate our anniversary, then carried the untouched cake to the kitchen and scraped it into the trash. My hands were steady as I picked up the divorce papers I'd had drawn up and dialed her number. Chloe had just made it backstage, and the sounds of celebration were a dull roar in the background when she answered. Her voice was sharp and devoid of warmth. "Did you sign it?" she asked without preamble. "Not yet," I replied, my own voice flat. "The house isn't going to be enough. I want all of your cash." A short, humorless scoff came through the receiver. "Liam, you're so damn greedy." I let out a cold laugh of my own. "Money will never cheat on me," I shot back. "It's the only sure thing there is." There was a brief pause on her end, a silence that lasted maybe 2 seconds before her voice returned, colder than before. "Fine. I'll have my lawyer get in touch with you tomorrow. Take the money, and we are done for good." I disconnected the call before she could say another word. The sound of her voice, a voice I had once been so completely obsessed with, now making my stomach churn with a sick feeling. It was hard to believe that only 3 months earlier, Devotion had just been released and was already climbing the charts at an incredible speed. I had been on a business trip in Australia, and I secretly booked an earlier flight home, filled with excitement at the thought of surprising her so we could celebrate her success together. As I approached our old apartment building, the place where our life together had truly started, I saw a man standing near the entrance. He was handsome, with a well-built frame, and he was holding 2 cups of bubble tea. My eyes immediately locked onto the specific drink in his hand: jasmine milk tea with coffee jelly. It was the exact same order as the one in my own hand, a drink I had gone out of my way to buy for Chloe right after my plane landed because I knew it was her absolute favorite. He casually brushed a hand through his hair, his voice both magnetic and gentle when he spoke. "Chloe, I wasn't sure what you like these days, so I just got your old favorite. I hope that's okay." Her reply was immediate, full of a warmth I hadn't heard in a long time. "Of course it is. If you like it, then I love it." In the next moment, as if I'd been struck by lightning, Chloe rushed out of the building and launched herself into his arms. They just looked at each other and smiled, their eyes sparkling with an intense, shared light. And then they were kissing, a passionate embrace under the warm glow of the setting sun. The bubble tea slipped from my grasp, the plastic cup shattering on the pavement with a dull thud. The sound made Chloe break the kiss and look up. When her eyes met mine, she froze, her expression caught between shock and something else I couldn't decipher. I could only stare at the drink she was now holding, my mind completely blank, unable to process how to react. I just stood there, rooted to the spot like a statue. The man beside her turned to look at me, a sudden, almost rehearsed look of apology crossing his face as he seemed to shrink back into Chloe's protective embrace. "Chloe, is this your husband?" "Mr. Davis, I am so sorry," he said, his voice earnest. "Chloe and I are childhood sweethearts. It's just, I love her too much. You can blame me for all of this. Don't blame her." I hadn't even spoken a single word, yet his performance was already in full swing. Chloe glared at me, pulling the man, Julian, even tighter against her. "The person I love is Julian," she said, her voice firm. "Liam, let's get a divorce." My mind felt like it had short-circuited. All I could do was stare at the tea in her hand. She had never liked sweet things and generally hated bubble tea, but for some inexplicable reason, she had always loved that one specific drink. In that single, shattering instant, everything clicked into place. Chloe left with him without a backward glance. I spent that night on the sofa in our old apartment, the lingering scent of her perfume in the air, making tears stream silently down my face. We had first met at a welcome party during our freshman year of college. It was then that I learned she was the only daughter of the Beaumont family, the owners of a major local corporation. She was wealthy, a brilliant finance major, and a rising star in the local music scene. A girl that seemingly perfect was so completely out of my league it was laughable. Luckily, she was our class representative, and I was the event coordinator, which gave me a convenient excuse to be around her under the guise of work. She would talk to me about her hobbies, her ambitious dreams, the immense pressure she felt being part of Beaumont Industries, and, eventually, about her first love. I knew he came from a family even more prominent than mine, was better looking than I was, and most importantly, I knew Chloe was deeply in love with him. So I pushed my own feelings down, burying them deep inside where they couldn't cause any trouble. That all changed at the graduation party in our senior year, when a group of us were drinking in the gym storage room. Fueled by a little too much cheap alcohol, I leaned in and kissed her. "Chloe," I told her, my voice barely a whisper, "I'm in love with you." I don't remember exactly what she said in response, only that by the end of that night, we were together. It was a whirlwind from there. From a secret crush at 18 to a drunken confession at 21. From her family's business failing spectacularly when she was 21, sending the golden girl of campus crashing to rock bottom, to us getting married when she was 24. Now, I am 27. And the past 9 years of my life feel like an elaborate, cruel joke. All the emotions I had been suppressing for months, the confusion, the hurt, the betrayal finally exploded. I went through the house like a storm, smashing everything I could get my hands on to pieces. When Chloe finally came home, I was sitting on the floor amidst the wreckage, feeling like a stray dog. The air around her wasn't just her usual body wash. It was mingled with the crisp, clean scent of a man's cologne. She glanced at me and the destruction without a word, her face showing not a hint of guilt. She simply cleared a space for herself on the sofa and sat down. I held my head in my hands, my voice emerging as a hoarse rasp. "When did you two get back together?" 3 months ago, she answered, without any hesitation. She proceeded to tell me everything, how they had run into each other at a concert hall, how they had embraced in the rain one night. They were childhood sweethearts, she explained, reminiscing about their sweet past, and dreaming of a beautiful future together. With him, Chloe said, she felt alive again. As she spoke about Julian, her eyes were filled with a tenderness I hadn't seen directed at me in years. It was almost enough to drive me insane. I jumped to my feet, slapped her hard across the face twice, and screamed, "You really think he loves you? You're such an idiot!" She wouldn't look me in the eye, but her words cut me deeper than any physical blow. "He loves me, and I love him. We're not like you money-grubbing parasite." Chloe was an incredibly emotional and impulsive person by nature. I remembered a time in college when she'd given a classmate a watch worth over $30,000 simply because she was in a good mood. I also remembered her skipping a major final exam because she was throwing a tantrum over something trivial. From what I had heard over the years, Julian was just as dramatic, if not more so. Tragically, during our senior year, Chloe's mother had cleaned out the family's accounts and run off to Europe with her lover. Her father, hounded by creditors and broken by the betrayal, died of a sudden heart attack. Chloe was left trapped in their sprawling mansion, surrounded by people demanding money, with no end in sight. I pulled every string I had, calling in every favor I'd ever accrued to help her navigate the legal battles. I borrowed money from everyone I knew to pay off some of the more dangerous loan sharks who were threatening her. After we got married, we had only each other to rely on. To make enough money to survive, I worked my office job during the day and then ran a small food stall at night, often sleeping for only 4 or 5 hours. We learned to stretch $20 to last us for 2 weeks. Our 200-square-foot attic apartment was like an oven in the summer and freezing with drafts in the winter. We had to wash ourselves using a large plastic tub because there was no proper shower. But the rent was only $50 a month, so we lived there for 5 years. I vividly remember in that 5th year, when we finally saved enough to move into this current apartment, Chloe held me and cried her eyes out. "Liam, I'm so sorry for putting you through all of this," she sobbed. "When I start making money, I swear I will make it all up to you." I just grinned like an idiot and wrapped my arms around her neck. "I'm already happy right now." Looking back on that moment, I can't believe what a fool I was. "Liam, Julian can give me a home," she said to me now, her voice flat and final. My heart, which I thought couldn't break any further, stopped and then shattered into a million pieces. We had a chance to have a family once, but she had argued that our lives were too difficult, that if we had a child, the child would only suffer with us. She insisted that we at least needed to own our own place first. She had held me and comforted me for a long time afterward, whispering in my ear over and over, "Liam, I love you. I want to give us the best." It was like I was hypnotized. I believed every single word she said. From that day on, I worked even harder. I landed several huge projects at my day job, got promoted to assistant manager, and my income doubled. The food stall business grew as well, so much so that I brought my buddy Dave on to help manage it, and I worked myself to the bone. I was busy from dawn until dusk every single day. When I would get home late at night, she would always have a glass of hot milk waiting for me. "We have enough money now," she'd say. "Why are you pushing yourself so hard?" I would tell her about all the good things that came with having money, about the secure future I imagined for us. Thinking back on it now, I realize she never really responded to those plans with any enthusiasm. Our first major fight happened after I closed a $30 million deal for my company. My boss threw a huge party to celebrate, and since my company was in the live streaming business, he wanted to use the party as promotional content. He had heard about Chloe's musical talent from me and wanted to ask her to sing a song during the event. Chloe completely lost her composure. She knocked over the entire champagne tower in a fit of rage and stormed out. The whole incident ended up trending on social media for a day. I tried to comfort her later. "It's okay," I said. I'll talk to my boss. This will all blow over in a couple of days." Chloe just sneered back at me. "What is there to talk about? He's just some new money trash who thinks he's a big shot because he has a little cash. Back in the day, he wouldn't have even been worthy of shining my shoes." I was stunned into silence. Was this the same Chloe I had known and loved? I tried to reason with her, but she just accused me of being a social climber, of only seeing dollar signs and judging people by their wealth. She said I had become shallow and materialistic. I didn't want her to be angry, so I started walking on eggshells around her. To have more time to take care of her, I franchised my food stall. I pulled some strings with my connections to rent a much better music studio for her to work in. After that, she was out of the house from morning until night, sometimes even sleeping at the studio. Eventually, a major record label took notice of her music, and she got signed. I rarely saw her anymore, but I noticed she was smiling more and more. I convinced myself it was because she was finally having a breakthrough with her music. I never imagined it was because she was spending her time with her supposed soulmate. He would talk to her about astrology and take her on spontaneous trips. He'd give her musical advice, take her out sketching in the countryside, and help her experience life. All I did was make money. In her eyes, I was boring, dull, and couldn't connect with her on a spiritual level. "Liam, we're from different worlds," her voice echoed in my ears. "Let's get a divorce?" In that moment, it felt like my soul had been ripped out of my body. Right when we were fighting the worst, my beloved nephew was diagnosed with a serious illness, adding another layer of stress to my life. I had held on to a tiny sliver of hope that maybe this family crisis would make her remember what we had been through together and come back to me. But I suppose even fate wanted us to get divorced. When I called Chloe to tell her the news, she was in the middle of receiving an offer for a huge project that required her to attend an event overseas. I heard later that Julian had set the whole thing up for her. Their relationship was flourishing. Chloe even publicly declared that Julian was her muse. She said that without him, she never would have gotten out of her creative funk or been able to finish her album. She owed all of her current success to him. A video of her saying this was sent to me from an unknown number while I was on my way to meet a client. Everyone in the media was saying they were a match made in heaven. No one remembered that I was the one who had begged and pleaded with producers to get her that first recording session. No one mentioned that I was the one who had leveraged my own professional connections to help her get signed with a major label. And certainly, no one remembered who had pulled her out of the mud and stayed by her side for years when she had hit rock bottom. Disgust, resentment, regret, and a burning anger all swirled together into a profound sadness that swallowed me whole. Distracted and heartbroken, I got into a car accident. My first instinct, foolishly, was to call Chloe. My voice was practically a sob when she answered. "Chloe, help me." There was a long, cold silence on her end of the line. I was almost begging. "I was in a car crash. Please help me." I don't remember why I was so pathetic in that moment, why I pleaded with her like that. Maybe I was still holding on to some hope that the woman I married was still in there somewhere. But reality slapped me across the face once again. Chloe let out an exasperated, cold sigh. "Liam, when did you learn to pull such cheap stunts?" The line went dead. I tried calling back, but she never picked up again. Some kind stranger called an ambulance and got me to the hospital. I survived. A month later, Chloe came back from her trip. She was dressed from head to toe in designer clothes, looking like a European queen, more radiant and beautiful than ever. In stark contrast, I was a wreck, pale and gaunt from my recovery. She brought me a designer tie and a small, expensive-looking cake. Just like she used to in our first year of marriage, she smiled as she opened the cake box and held it out for me to see. She unwrapped the gift herself and asked me if I liked it. Her expression was so gentle, so reminiscent of the past that it stirred the last little bit of longing I had left in my heart. Can't we just try to make this work? The ridiculous thought swirled in my head, and I almost laughed at my own foolishness. I grabbed the cake from her hands and threw it directly into the trash can. "Get out," I said, my voice low and dangerous. The smile on her face froze. It took her a long moment to find her voice, which was now filled with a belated sense of guilt. "Liam, I'm sorry. I didn't know that day you—" "I don't need it," I cut her off. "You don't deserve to apologize." Chloe had never been on the receiving end of my anger before, and her face immediately hardened. "Liam, do you have to talk to me like that?" That ridiculous hope I had felt just a moment ago was shattered completely. I picked up the trash can and dumped its entire contents over her impeccably styled head. Chloe let out a piercing scream. Before she could react, I slapped the divorce papers against her face. "You cheated. You leave with nothing. This is non-negotiable. And one more thing. You're going to pay me $1 million in alimony, 1 penny less, and the story of you and Julian will be on every headline in the country." Chloe's voice softened then, her eyes pleading. "The money in the house was always yours anyway, but $1 million. "You're a big star now, Chloe," I said coldly. $1 million to save your reputation? That sounds like a bargain." That shut her up. As she stood there silently, my mind flashed back to the first year after her family went bankrupt, when creditors were constantly showing up at our door. I found different places for her to hide while I dealt with the harassment alone. I remembered one time when a few thugs tried to drag me away from our apartment. I ran into the kitchen, grabbed a meat cleaver, and just started swinging wildly. The only thought in my head was, "I'll kill you all for Chloe." The thugs eventually backed off, but I got cut badly in the chaos, leaving a deep, permanent scar on my upper arm. Every time Chloe would gently touch that scar, she would say, "Liam, I'm so sorry. I'll make you happy." Her so-called happiness ended up hurting more than losing a limb. Looking at her face now, I felt like all my years of devotion and sacrifice were worth less than feeding a stray dog. At least a dog would wag its tail in gratitude. She just made me sick to my stomach. I gave her a few moments to process everything. Then I went to our bedroom and started sweeping all of her clothes and belongings out the door into the hallway. Suddenly, my vision blurred. My body swayed, and then everything went black. When I woke up again, I learned I had a high fever. I was delirious for 3 days, not answering anyone's calls. When I finally turned my phone back on, there was a text from my company. I had been fired. In the span of a few months, I had lost my marriage and my job, and yet I felt incredibly, strangely free. I actually had a lot of money saved up. After I had finished paying off all of her family's debts, I had been saving every penny I earned to support Chloe's dream, never touching a dime for myself. I packed my remaining bags, left the city, and found a quiet, beautiful place far away from all the noise to live for a month. The next time I heard any news about Chloe, she had won another major award. As a talented female singer who had found fame later in life, she possessed the looks of an idol and the skills to back it up. She also had the unique charisma and life experience of a mature woman, which made her incredibly popular with audiences of all ages. She was topping the charts in the country over and over, and the media coverage was like a tidal wave, absolutely everywhere. I was constantly getting news alerts about her on my phone. "New superstar shakes the global music scene," one headline read. "A fusion of ancient and modern art," declared another. All of her work was a massive critical and commercial hit. She could go on a talk show and just sit there silently, and the ratings would soar. During one such interview, a host started asking about her love life. She looked directly into the camera and professed her deep love for Julian, stopping just short of spelling his name out on the screen for the world to see. My old friend Maya called me that night. "What is going on with you and Chloe?" she demanded. "Why is she saying all this stuff on TV?" "Her first love is back," I said simply. "We're getting divorced." She spent the rest of the night cursing Chloe out with a ferocity I never knew she possessed. I had never known her to be able to talk that much. She only stopped when her throat was dry. "Doesn't she know you're the reason she even got her first contract? Did she really think her first love was some magic charm that brought her all that luck?" I just smiled weakly. Her first song, Vigil, had gone absolutely nowhere when it was first released. I had taken the demo tape from one record label to the next, begging them, even knocking on the doors of some shady back-alley producers, just hoping for a little exposure for her. Eventually, my desperate search led me to the home of a retired music legend. There was a reason the old guy had retired early, as I soon found out. At a dinner meeting, his people forced 2 entire bottles of brandy down my throat. Right before I passed out, I somehow managed to flip the table, escape the private room, and collapse at the hotel entrance. The last thing I remember before losing consciousness was someone running toward me, shouting my name. I woke up in a hospital bed. I'd had my stomach pumped and had a few scrapes, but I was otherwise okay. It was Maya who had saved me. In college, she had been the student body president and was also in my class. She had gone abroad for graduate school right after we graduated, and I had been so wrapped up in dealing with Chloe's problems that we had completely lost touch. I never thought we would meet again under circumstances like these. She told me she had been doing business overseas after finishing her studies, and was now back in the country to expand her company into the domestic market. She took care of me the entire time I was in the hospital, and even used her own connections to help me get Chloe's demo tape to a major record label. That was how Chloe had finally gotten her funding. "My situation is really complicated," I had told Maya back then. "I might just drag you down with me." "Forget it," she had said. She was quiet for a few seconds, then asked, "Does Chloe know about any of this?" I just smiled, and she understood immediately. During that time, Chloe was holed up in her studio, completely consumed by her music. I didn't want to bother her with my problems, so I rarely called. And if I didn't call her, she certainly wouldn't call me. After I got out of the hospital, I went right back to working day and night, completely swamped. Maya asked me to join her company 2 more times. When I refused, she dropped the subject and started coming to my food stall for a late-night snack every single day instead. About 2 weeks later, Chloe's second song came out, but it ran into some minor issues with the rollout. I was running around again, pulling strings for her, even using my personal savings to buy online traffic to boost her numbers. For her, I learned about marketing strategies and how to build up hype online. Maya was speechless. Her own mother wasn't this dedicated, she'd said, but I was happy to do it. "She's my wife," I'd told her. "I'd do anything for her." That year, on Chloe's birthday, I was out of town closing a deal for her to do a television show's theme song. I had told her I couldn't be there for her birthday, but I was actually planning a big surprise. She just replied with a casual 3-word text, "Got it." At the time, my heart sank a little. I was disappointed by her lack of enthusiasm. But after I got off the plane, I saw a new post she had made on social media. "Time proves all things, and love endures." All my sadness vanished in an instant. I started dreaming about our future together again. Thinking back on that now, her love was already for someone else. "Aren't you mad?" Maya asked me on the phone. "I'll go break her legs for you to let off some steam." Her voice was full of genuine frustration. "After everything she's done to you, you're still in the mood to joke around with me? Liam, do you even have a heart?" "It's not that I don't have a heart," I replied calmly. "It's just that my heart has already healed." Chloe, she's in the past. You have to look forward, and there's no Chloe in my future anymore. The woman who had dazzled me at 18 and consumed 9 years of my life no longer existed for me. I sighed into the phone. I got fired. Miss West, care to spare a job? She was silent for a moment, then burst out laughing. 5 minutes later, I was an official employee of Summit Enterprises. 2 weeks later, the divorce was finalized. I sold the condo and everything in it. Whatever I could sell, I sold. Whatever I couldn't, I threw away. I moved to a new city and used my savings, along with some money borrowed from Maya, to buy a small one-bedroom apartment. The day I moved into my new place, Chloe and Julian held a lavish, extravagant wedding. I thought about my own wedding. There had been no ceremony, no reception, just a pair of simple silver bands exchanged at the courthouse. Things change. People change. I threw the silver ring from my finger into the trash and boarded the plane to my new life. My life became filled with work. Even when I was with Maya outside of the office, all we talked about was work. Watching my savings account grow, I felt like all the hard work was finally worth it. My life was simple, but it was fulfilling. I thought I would never cross paths with Chloe again, until, at a company charity event, I saw her once more. She was as radiant and beautiful as ever. When she saw me, her eyes filled with surprise. "Liam, I finally found you." I instinctively took a few steps back to maintain a professional distance. "Miss Beaumont, I don't believe you were on the guest list for this event. I heard from an old classmate that you were at Summit Enterprises, so I came to find you," she said, her voice urgent. "Liam, you sold the condo, you changed your number, you're not even on social media anymore. It took me 2 years to find you." I didn't care if it had taken her 2 years or 20. I had hoped to never see her again. My tone remained strictly business. "Miss Beaumont, are you looking to collaborate with Summit? If so, you can contact our business department directly." "No, I wanted to see you." I have to say, my professionalism was impressive. I didn't even laugh in her face. Chloe's expression was broken and innocent, which only made me feel more disgusted. She stepped closer to me, and I stepped back again. The event staff noticed something was off between us, but no one dared to approach. Chloe's voice was hoarse and choked with emotion. "Liam, the day of your accident, I wanted to come back, but that meeting was too important for me. I couldn't risk it." I said nothing. The memory of her disgusted expression and dismissive tone on the phone was still fresh in my mind. Her saying this now was more obnoxious than a fart in a crowded room. I ignored her completely, letting her talk for a long time without responding. I only looked directly at her when my assistant came to get me for a meeting. Chloe hung around my office building for a few days. After that, to avoid any more trouble, I worked late into the night every day. Maya stayed with me, and she had her housekeeper prepare my dinner and a late-night snack. I teased her one evening. "If you keep spoiling me like this, the staff is going to start spreading rumors about us." Maya didn't look at me, a faint smile playing on her lips. "Let them. We've got nothing to hide." "The great CEO of Summit has a clear conscience. Of course you're not afraid," I joked. Our thoughts both drifted back to the past. Maya sighed. "You're probably the only groom in the world who would get emotional over a simple pair of silver rings." Whatever somber mood I was building was completely shattered by her teasing. Seeing that I was genuinely okay, Maya finally spoke seriously. "She called me before she came here. She asked me not to tell you ahead of time. I told her everything. About you drinking yourself into the hospital to sell her music. About you doing all the online marketing yourself. I think she was crying on the other end of the line. After hearing that, I felt nothing at all. I finished my snack before replying. It's all in the past." The marketing campaign for the new mid-range jewelry line I was managing was a huge success. Within 2 weeks of its launch, it became a phenomenon among young people. The massive sales brought in a hefty profit for the company. At the celebration party, as the project lead, I was one of the guests of honor. As soon as I entered the ballroom, I saw Chloe and Julian. The tension between them was palpable. It was like there was an invisible wall separating them. I was about to turn around and walk away, but Chloe ran over and grabbed my hand in front of everyone. Seeing the cold look in my eyes, she quickly let go. "I'm sorry, I'm having writer's block. I was hoping to get some inspiration here in the city. Would you be willing to help me?" "Miss Beaumont, your muse is over there," I said, gesturing towards Julian. "You've got the wrong guy." Chloe followed my gaze. Julian was already shooting daggers at her with his eyes. She completely ignored him. "Liam, I just want to make it up to you. I didn't know about everything you did for me back then. If I had known—" "Miss Beaumont, the past is the past. All the stupid things I did were because I was an idiot, and I've accepted that. Besides, what I wanted was love, not your gratitude, and certainly not some self-serving pity party." My words left Chloe speechless. She stared at me for a few seconds before speaking again, her voice a desperate whisper. "Liam, if Julian and I get divorced, could we get remarried?" I almost laughed out loud. Is true love and first love this cheap these days? Absolutely not. After saying that, I felt a profound sense of relief wash over me. I turned and walked into the center of the party, ignoring the murderous glare I could feel following me. After the party, I hitched a ride home with Maya. "I heard from some old classmates that Chloe and Julian's marriage isn't going so well," she said as she drove. "Julian complains that Chloe is never home, and he's constantly causing dramatic scenes at her studio and backstage at her shows. He insists on following her everywhere she goes. He even got into a fist fight with one of her investors, thinking the guy was a third party. Chloe thinks he's being unreasonable and lazy, and she says he spends way too much money. Over time, the disagreements have gotten bigger and bigger." Seeing that I had nothing to say, Maya paused for a moment, then continued. 3 months ago, Julian's ex-girlfriend, Olivia, showed up with their kid. That's when Chloe found out Julian already had a son. And because of her unhealthy lifestyle in her early years, she can't have children anymore. Back then, to protect her pride, you were the one who told everyone that the problem was with you. On top of the shock of this news, one single thought popped into my head. Karma. Maya asked me, "Aren't you curious who he went abroad with all those years ago, or what he was doing all that time?" "Their business has nothing to do with me," I said. Maya blinked, then let out a hearty laugh. She dropped me off at the entrance to my apartment complex and drove away. The condo I bought is in a quiet neighborhood, with a beautiful tree-lined path leading up to the main building. I usually loved this path, but tonight it was almost the end of me. 2 big eyes suddenly rushed out from the shadows and started swinging at me. I instinctively covered my head with my arms, trying to shield myself from the blows. In the chaos, a figure darted out from nowhere. Security guards, hearing the commotion, came running, and the 2 attackers took off into the night. When I came to my senses, Chloe was lying on the ground, her head bleeding. A broken brick lay on the pavement next to her. Security helped me get her to the hospital. The doctor said she had a significant head injury and needed a CT scan to see the full extent of the damage. The biggest problem, however, was a long, deep gash on her face from where the brick had hit her. It ran from the corner of her left eye all the way down to the corner of her mouth. She had to cancel all of her upcoming professional engagements to focus on facial reconstruction surgery. Chloe was now facing a massive amount of breach of contract fees. I tried to comfort her as she lay in the hospital bed. "This happened because of me. I'll help you renegotiate the contract penalties. The most important thing is for you to focus on getting better." "Liam, helping you was my choice," she whispered. I didn't know what to say to that. The hospital room was quiet for a long moment. Then, Chloe hooked her little finger around my ring finger, her voice pleading. "Liam, if I get a divorce, can we get married again?" I felt nothing. I gently removed her hand from mine. "I'm sorry, I don't make a habit of getting involved in other people's marriages. Your husband is Julian, not me." But for 2 straight days, Julian never showed up at the hospital. I used Chloe's phone to call him. The first time, he answered and immediately hung up. After that, every call went straight to voicemail. On the 3rd day, the doctor informed us that the CT scan had revealed she had a brain tumor. The impact from the attack had caused a change in the tumor, but the doctor assured us that as long as she cooperated with treatment, it wasn't a huge problem. However, she could no longer engage in strenuous activity. Performing in a concert was completely out of the question. Chloe just stared at the ceiling, her eyes empty. She didn't say a single word for the rest of the day. On the evening of the 4th day, Julian finally arrived. He was dressed like a trust fund kid on a shopping spree. He didn't even ask about Chloe's condition. He just wanted to know if she could still write music. I didn't want to be there for that conversation. I told Chloe to take care of herself and left with Maya. After the media reported that Chloe had been disfigured while saving someone and was also diagnosed with a brain tumor, her public image didn't suffer. It skyrocketed. People started calling her a virtuous and talented icon. The contracts that were demanding penalties were all renegotiated to rebrand her with even higher fees. Her breakout hit, Devotion, was elevated to legendary status. The hospital was nearly swarmed with reporters wanting to interview her. But not long after, there was a dramatic reversal in the news cycle. "Heroic act suspected to be staged," one headline read. "Virtuous icon allegedly a heartless cheater," read another. "Karma catches up." Not long after her tumor removal surgery, Chloe went to a press conference in a wheelchair. She publicly admitted that she had been emotionally cheating on me for 6 months before writing Devotion, betraying the husband who had pulled her out of her darkest moments. Then, she dropped an even bigger bombshell. When Julian had gone abroad all those years ago, it was with her own mother, right after they had stolen all of the Beaumont family's money. The person who had destroyed her family was Julian himself. For a moment, the entire internet was in an uproar. Some people said Chloe's life was a tragedy, her whole family ruined by one man. Others said she got what she deserved, that she was trash, just like her mother. But most of the public's fury was directed at Julian. Soon after, Julian was arrested for fraud, marriage fraud, and using shady illegal contracts. During the investigation, his plot to hire thugs to attack me also came to light. Due to the severity of the various crimes and the huge sums of money involved, he was sentenced to life in prison. After that, Chloe disappeared completely. Even I couldn't find her. My life returned to normal, but it became richer and more fulfilling. I started dating Maya. For my 30th birthday, she set up 30 different gifts for me on the 1st floor of our office building, saying she was making up for all the ones I had missed over the years. I laughed. "The CEO is so generous. How about giving us all a raise instead?" "Sure," she said with a smile. "If you say yes to marrying me, from this day on, all Summit Enterprises employees get a 10% raise." At that point, I had no choice but to say yes. Maya and I got engaged. The last time I heard from Chloe was the night before my wedding to Maya. I received a package from a lawyer. Inside was a demo of a song called "If There Were No Ifs." Along with it came several property deeds and a bank card. The lawyer explained that Chloe's brain tumor had returned. She had passed away a week ago in the old apartment building, the one where we had lived after her family's fall. She had left her entire estate to me. It turned out that after I had sold the building, she had bought it back and restored it to the way it was when we lived there. Now, the property was in my hands again. The song was released as her final work and caused an extraordinary stir. Chloe's story once again became the talk of the town. Some sighed over her tragic fate. Some pitied her. Others said she brought it all on herself. The internet was full of opinions, but the general tone wasn't harsh. People seemed more interested in speculating about her state of mind before she died. I held out my hand for Maya to put the ring on my finger. Looking at the brilliant diamond on my hand, I was confused. Why a diamond? Weren't we getting platinum bands? Maya wrapped her arms around my waist from behind and whispered in my ear, "A diamond is forever. We're locked in for life."